Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Below the 38. This is the weekend that was, episode 41. This is our first review show of K League 1 and K League 2 since the end of June. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by a couple of misfits as usual, Mike and Luke. How you getting on, lads?
Yeah, all good over here.
Happy to be back?
Yeah, it was nice to have football back this weekend despite the rain and the humidity and the general discomfort of being in Seoul World Cup Stadium and them not selling water despite the weather. But except that, all good.
Well,
It's only going to get worse from here on out.
why no water?
I think
Is
so.
it because it doesn't stain your hands?
I've honestly no idea. They had like loads of different beers, Powerade. They had coffee. They had cola. They had literally every drink you can think of for sale, except water. They had like the flavored, like sort of tea brewed water type stuff, but actual plain water,
You're
none.
too picky,
And
too
they-
picky, Luke.
My, Mike, are you trying to say they've learned their lesson?
I did wonder if it was connected.
I'm not saying anything.
He seemed to hint that
It's
way.
above
yes.
my station.
If
They
you're not,
took it, they took bottle tops off everybody on the way in when they searched bags. So who knows? But then they didn't take them off the drinks that they sold, which I didn't understand. But whatever.
a sense of
Ancient
humor, sense of humor from the management at Seoul World Cup Stadium. Check out our website. There will be a link to it in the description to this. You'll find some stadium guides. We'll start plugging those more and more as the season goes along. Interviews, and from here on out, there'll be K League 1, K League 2, and Korea Cup previews of every round or every weekend. So that's below the 38korea.com. There will be a link to that in the description. Let's get straight into this, shall we? Week 16 of K League 1, Luke. It's in the can. What happened?
So on Saturday we started with Daejeon and Bucheon, kind of a bottom of the table clash, and it finished 2-2. Ju Mingyu gave Daejeon the lead. Bucheon got two quick goals, and it was Seo Soo who equalised for Daejeon late on. Probably a better result for Bucheon than it is for Daejeon. Daejeon still not looking very good, sitting down in 10th. In Anyang, Pohang took the league in the second minute thanks to a Wonderson goal. And then Mateus equalised just before half-time. Second half, Pohang went down to 10 men, but Wonderson again hit from about 30 yards, a beautiful goal. If you've not seen it, look it up. Phenomenal. Could win goal of the season. Itae made the game level again, getting Anyang back into it in the 75th minute, and then 3 minutes later on, it was Hyochang who gave Pohang the win. That's 3 points for them, and Anyang still only one win at home all season. In the final Saturday game, we had a top-of-the-table clash. It was Jeonbuk in third against Gangwon in fourth, and it was Gangwon who won. They won 2-1. They were 2-0 up with a goal just before and just after the break before Lee Seung-woo managed to grab a consolation. That moves Gangwon above Jeonbuk, and Gangwon have been doing really well all season. They continue to impress after the break. Brilliant result for them. They actually play Seoul next. Who are top of the league. They moved 8 points clear thanks to a win over Incheon in the Gyeongin Derby. 22,600 people braved the miserable weather with 4,500 away fans, and that's a record away following for Incheon. It was a game with few chances and not a lot of quality. Lots of possession for Incheon, but they couldn't do anything with it, unfortunately. Jong Sung-won scored the winning goal for Seoul in around the 80th minute. They got the 3 points. They go further clear at the top. But, yeah, just a case of what might have been for Incheon, unfortunately. Gimcheon were held at home to Jeju. Park Cholu scored the goal for Gimcheon, and then Jeju equalised 2 minutes later. It was former Hull City defender Tobias Figueiredo who got the equaliser. Not really a good game, not a lot of quality on show, and a point will probably be frustrating for both teams. Finally, our game, the big game of the week perhaps, result of the week, maybe, Gwangju managed to pick up a point. This is an Ulsan team who beat them 5-1 earlier in the season, and a Gwangju team who've been conceding goals for fun. But maybe Gwangju have found a bit of fight, maybe they're not down and out yet. Yago got a goal pretty much out of nothing from a defensive mistake, and then it was Moon Min-so with his third goal of the year to equalise for Gwangju. Ulsan had plenty of chances. They probably should have won it. And at the end of the season, if they're missing 1 or 2 points when challenging for something, they're probably going to look back on this game and regret it.
I was having a look at the Ulsan lineup when it was announced about an hour and a half before the game. I don't know why he wasn't playing, but I was just interested to see if Thomas Kote was going to be involved. He wasn't even on the bench. Maybe he's picked up an injury or something. That would have been quite interesting. What all this means for the table. Now, Luke has already mentioned some of this, so I'll just quickly skim back over it. FC Seoul's lead is now being extended to 8 points. There was a time there after a bunch of home games when they went 8 to 10 points clear of K-League 1 and then sort of lost a lot of points at home before picking up points just before the World Cup break. But that is now back to 8 points, which is a really, really sizable gap this late into the season. Their win coupled with drop points for Ulsan and Jeonbuk. Gangwon leapfrog Jeonbuk, as Luke was saying, to continue yet another fairy tale season for Gangwon. The bottom 3 of Daejeon, Gimcheon and Gwangju just can't buy a win right now, but as Luke was saying, perhaps that Gwangju point means that they're not quite dead and buried yet, but they are still 7 points adrift at the bottom of the table. I guess the difference for Gwangju now, as opposed to the start of the season, is they can start signing players, and they've already been doing that. So if the recruitment is good, then perhaps they will be able to chase down teams above them. Well, interesting enough, Gimcheon Sangwoo are the team directly ahead of Gwangju, and as we've been saying all season, they are already relegated, no matter what happens from here on in. But Daejeon just can't seem to get away from the bottom 3. They remain 10th with just 4 wins from 16 matches for the team that finished in the top 2 last year. Luke, thanks for that. Let's go on to the big action of the weekend, though. We've all been waiting for this. It's K-League 2. I think it's also week 16, is that right? Even though some clubs have played about 27 matches, other clubs have played about 5 games. So give us the rundown of week 16, Mike.
Okay. We're just on to connect what you're just saying. If Gwangju do get off the bottom, there's going to be some major issues with a few clubs in the K2 because it's a really exciting league and we really need those playoffs to go ahead. Or it's going to be ridiculous. Somebody didn't think about this, did they? But anyway, speaking of, the top of the table has actually somewhat contracted with an incredible spectacle down in Gwangyang. Jeonnam have returned from the hydration, totally not advertising break with a vengeance as they led league leaders Busan 3-1 until big Kim Jin-hyuk, the former Daegu defender, who almost became a greener in 2017. There's a story in that. He scored twice on in the 82nd and 85th minute to rescue a point for Busan. Now, we said last week that this was going to be a good measure of Busan if they could go the distance. Now, they haven't actually kicked on, but I don't know what to read from this because it shows that they're actually up for a fight when the chips are down as well. It's quite interesting, actually, Busan. I think there's a lot more to come from them as well. By the way, 2 former greeners are on the score sheet. Got to mention it. So several teams, they are, of course, chasing the playoffs, and several of them put in 3 goals or more. The top teams are really thumping the lower teams this weekend. Eland beat Gimhae 3-1 away. And they are the only team that actually have played 16 games on round 16. So what that's going to make the round of 17 when no one's playing a 17th game, I've got absolutely no idea. But anyway, Suwon FC, they also grabbed 3 goals when they went 3-1 at Ansan. They were trailing at half time, but again, they came back and showed why they are one of the contenders this season. Daegu, they managed a huge 5 goals as they ended Cheongju's hopes of back-to-back wins, or a second win of the season, with an energetic performance, of course, in Cheongju. Daegu actually had 5 different scorers. I think the doubters are gone now. I don't think they're just back in the question of promotion. They're actually in the question for the title itself. Daegu have really, really exercised their early season demons, and they're looking rather impressive. Of course, we shouldn't forget boring bluing, should we? Because you guessed it, 1-0. Now, they did do it 10 men for the most part when Mo Kyung-bin received a second yellow card after half an hour. But they also did it against Songnam, so, well done, Blue Wings.
Did you see that red card, by the way?
I haven't seen the card. Would you like to tell our listeners about it?
He was given a second yellow card for time wasting after 30 minutes because neither the goalkeeper nor Mo they were confused over what they were doing with a clear out, a kick out, so they kept passing the ball to each other, and the referee decided to give a second yellow card to the young defender. It clearly wasn't time waste. I don't know what they were doing. It just seems like it was a bit of a, it sounds awful, but a KD2 low IQ moment when you just boot the ball down the field or just restart the game. But to give a second yellow card to a player for time wasting after 30 minutes seems absolutely bizarre. I'm not saying it was the wrong decision, but it's still a very, very strange decision. It's one of those things I don't think you'll ever see again for the rest of the decade in K-League 1 or K-League 2. A player booked and says for giving a second yellow card and therefore given a red card for time wasting after 30 minutes. Continue.
Maybe we can get somebody to have a word and get a good word put in him, and he'll have the ban rescinded or something.
The big one, though, some say bigger than the result of the Azteca today, but they'd be wrong about that. But it was a Gimpo versus Ansan, and this really was a huge game. It was I'd say it would be the pick of the round. Whether it was the best game, it was certainly the most standout result. I actually thought this would be where Asan basically were cut a little bit off from the playoff race, and then we just have that little league at the top. But I was very wrong, as they came away from the Salty Stadium with a 2-0 win. The home side went down to 10 in the first half when Luan Diaz, he got a straight red. Yeah, Asan, incredible. They actually had the ball in the net 3 times. One was chalked off, but I've been practicing this beforehand, but here we go. Loko Longoy and Kim Jong-min, they both scored in the final 10. So actually, Asan was in 2 points of the playoff places. It's amazing stuff from Luke's favourite bird, the Owls. It really is. And again, it keeps that playoff race so exciting. And as I said, the Asan and everyone else are going to really want a playoff. Now, there were a few games as well in the league, in the were not as good as Asan but not as bad as Ansan league, with Gyeongnam defeating Cheonan 2-1. Cheonan actually played much of it with just 10 after E.G. Hoon's 20th minute red, but Gyeongnam levelled the player count when Lu Chao got his marching orders on the hour mark. That's 3 reds in the first half, actually, in this K2 round. So they've come back from the break absolutely with the bit between their teeth. We entered the final. It went 1-1 into injury time. But there's been another pattern. The team which actually has a disciplinary issue during the game ends up benefiting from it, because Gyeongnam basically scored in the 101st minute. Wong Ki-jong scoring that. 1,664 were there in Changwon to see that game. I'm going to presume the rest were at the other Changwon team match. That was in the Cup, because as you know, that Changwon is a city that really needs another K2 side, isn't it? Paju lost at home 1-0 to Yongin. It's another game settled in the last 10 with Sok Yeon-jun deciding that just because he's almost as old as me, it's not going to stop him scoring a winner. So yeah, that battle at the top is absolutely intriguing, especially now that relegation's been is now off for reasons. So Andrew's here to tell you just how chaotic it really is up there.
Just on Busan, because you actually started with Busan, that I was having a look at the table while you were waffling away there to the rest of the results, and you were talking about the steal. I think it was the steal that they've shown. They've only dropped points in 5 matches this season, and 3 of those have been in the last 4. So it does point to a team that's probably going into some sort of a decline. We can only hope. But that was a masterful comeback from them of some sorts. And as I wrote for the website during the week, they don't like going to Gwangyang. They have they've had nightmares there in recent history. So to bounce back from 3-1 down, it's a weird sort of game where Busan are probably pretty happy in the end, because they're looking at losing that and therefore going level on top with Suwon. But that 1 point keeps them ahead. And because they've scored 12 goals more than the Blue Wings, they're basically an extra point clear at this point. Those 33 goals were going to make a huge difference towards the end of the season. And then it was a bad weekend for Hwasong. Hwasong sat the weekend out because of their 15th game of the year so far, and all the teams above them all won. So Hwasong at one point looked like they might have been going second in K-League 2 just before the World Cup break, and they're now down in 6th. Last thing, Gimpo 7th spot, as Mike was saying. It's funny as well, isn't it, how they played their first 13 matches away from home and they put themselves in the playoff picture, and you're thinking, okay, They're now back at home. They got a lot of games at Saltaw between now and the end of the season. 2 matches back on home turf, and they haven't won either of those. They picked up 1 point from a possible 6. The same thing happened to them in 2024 or 2025, so there is a bit of history with that. Ansan Greeners were on the verge of going second bottom until Busan's late comeback, but with about 12 games beaten in a row, they remain 15th, just 5 points ahead of Gimhae. So K-League 2, yeah, it's always a good time. It's always a good time.
They have survived.
So
they've beaten the drop.
They have survived,
the
yeah.
A fantastic team effort.
That's going to be plastered on the side of WA Stadium for the end of the season.
Get the memorial patch.
We beat the drop. And yeah, both sides of the jersey. The Seoul Leland sit out the next round, as Mike was saying. Really interested to see how that plays itself out. Suwon are going to the Ansan Greeners on Saturday, so if they can pick up when they pick up 3 points there, that will put them firmly ahead of Seoul Leland with a 1-0 win, I'm sure, in the WA Stadium. So that's it for K-League 1 and K-League 2 for now. We'll have a quick chat about the Korea Cup, because Mike and I both went to a game. We went to different matches, as it turned out. Let's just talk about the games we went to. I'll go last. Why not? Because I want to talk about a stadium as opposed to a match. Which one would you like to jump in first? Mike, you went to 2 games the weekend. Luke, you went to 1. Who would like to take over here?
It's nice to go ahead of Luke for once. Let me in. Okay, right, play me in. Right, he has. I fluffed it already. Right, the reason. Oh, what I'm talking about? I was at Ansan, of course. Okay. Ansan, obviously, as I mentioned before, they went down 3-1 to Suwon. No surprises there. We had some visitors from our Atlanta supporters group, so we had a jolly old time, I must say. I must admit, we've been quite optimistic with Ansan this season, because despite losing continuously, we seem to win halves of games, which we didn't do at all last season. We were absolutely rocking at half time, and then of course we got absolutely pasted in the second half. Absolutely fair and square, no complaints. Suwon just far superior. Interestingly, now listen carefully, listeners, because there were over 5,500 in the WA. Now, if you do a little math, you can actually compare us to the capital city club in home attendance in a moment. And to think about the ramifications of what that means. Anyway, as Andrew mentioned, I was at the Cup. I saw an opportunity, 6 p.m. kickoff on a Sunday, so I thought, excellent, I'll have a little gander at that. Drove in a thunderstorm. It was a really tough and what's a game with lots of lightning and thunder. A very straightforward win for Namyangju over Seoul Jungang. I tried to capture the weather on Instagram. It's on B38, so take a look. Should use the microphone because you can't hear me, but maybe you can hear a bit of the atmosphere. It's a lovely wee stadium at Namyangju for a ground hopper, and I strongly recommend it. If you want to take a look at the video on B38. And I wasn't very far from Luke, actually. I think only about 15-16 kilometers away, but I imagine his experience was a little bit different.
Yeah, we came over the Han River, and having gone from the Incheon side over to the Seoul side, the heavens opened, and it was absolutely horrific conditions. We actually had to hide in Home Plus under the stadium to wait for the weather to calm down a bit. But yeah, that was not much fun. But what was interesting is this weekend was the first weekend of the new away rules. Now, there's an article on the B38 website about this, but basically in Korea now, away fans are getting a bit more beneficial treatment from clubs, because for a long time, away fans have been put in the corner or in the second tier or just out of the way in stadiums. And people complained, but nobody was willing to be the first one to do anything about it. So now clubs have to give more of their seating to away fans. So as a result, Incheon had the entire lower tier of the south stand of the away stand at Seoul, and it was full, almost full. I think there were 4,500 Seoul Incheon fans there, and about 17,000 Seoul fans. It was a really good atmosphere, really good entertainment. The game was a lot of effort, but not much end product, unfortunately. Incheon had the chance to take the lead through So Jae-min, and he fluffed it, basically. Seoul didn't have a lot of opportunity, but the good chance that they had in the second half they took. And honestly, we saw it coming, because it's what always happens. Seoul are one of those teams who are going to grind out wins this year, and I think it's going to take a lot for anybody to stop them. Jeonbuk slipping up here and there, Ulsan are slipping up here and there, and I don't know that Gangwon quite have it in them to catch Seoul, so I don't really see anybody but Seoul winning. This weekend, Incheon are at home to Anyang, and both teams definitely need a win. But yeah, glad to be back in K1, glad for things to be happening. Shame we couldn't get a win.
Yeah, the So Jae-min miss, I saw about 60 minutes of that match, turned on about halfway through the first half. And it was funny because they were teammates last season, the goalkeeper and So Jae-min at Seoul Leland, and the goalkeeper came in for a lot of praise for the save, but like, man, all he did was stand there. Like, in order for him not to save the ball, he would have had to just dive into the ground and then just crawl under the dirt. I mean, he didn't have to do anything special. Like, this was all on So Jae-min. It was nothing to do with the goalkeeper. And like, I think from what I can remember, he kind of cut back inside, didn't he? And like he made like, some people probably say that he should have shot first time, but I thought like he opened the goal up. This was just, it was a nailed on goal. Like, he really should have scored that. But
it was a great touch. It was a great touch, and whoever I don't know if the defender was Yazan or someone else, but he completely sold him. Like, you thought from there he would have to score. I think, don't know, pressure got to him maybe.
Yeah, and then the goal, unfortunately. Because Jong, it was funny because before he got the ball from, I think Moon San Min made a break down the left. I forget who kind of ferried the ball onto the right side of the box, but Jong Sung-won was showing the inside already. He was letting your left back know that he was going to cut back inside on his left foot, and it's exactly what he did. And like, even the shot, like, it was kind of scuffed. I think it took a slight defection. It's just ugly, man. It was just an ugly way to lose a game like that. I didn't think there was, I mean, for the game that I saw, Gerso was, I don't know what it was like in the stadium, but he's the perfect guy to have away from home, because obviously his pace on the break is going to really cause problems for the Seoul defense. But it felt like a game that was just lacking in serious quality, unfortunately, which is a pity, because both these sides were at the top half of the table, and Seoul are runaway leaders. I don't think it's unfair to expect a little bit better, certainly from the home team. But like, it's not like the game was won by a bit of magic in the end. Like, it was a scruffy. It's a goal that they probably should have not conceded. But
I think Seoul might have made better opportunities, and we've defended and blocked things better, and it's not led to a shot. Whereas that one, I don't know if it was tired legs or tired heads. Like, there was an opportunity for Mugosa to make a tactical foul on halfway, and he couldn't catch the player. I mean, another thing was as well, players from both sides were slipping and falling any time they tried to like turn or twist. It was amazing how many times people lost their feet. I don't know if that was across the league this week with all the rain that we've had, or the rain that we've had around the capital, but the pitch was really slippy. And I know people have complained about Seoul World Cup Stadium's pitch before for different reasons, but you don't realise until you're actually watching a game in the stadium how much people slip, either on the ball or off it. But yeah, one of those things. We live and learn. Hopefully improve next week.
Because I know Mike was watching the end of the Jeonnam game. We were both watching the Busan Jeonnam game for different reasons. Obviously, I was up for the home team. Mike was hoping the visitors would nab a draw. What was really noticeable about the Seoul Incheon game and then the end of the game in Jeonnam is, like, as you said, it's hot and it's humid, and when the final whistle went in Gwanyang, I'd say maybe 19 out of 22 players just immediately collapsed to the ground, and players who were coming on with 10 minutes to go were drenched in sweat. There were a couple of players in Seoul Incheon game, players that came on, like Song Min-gyu came on at halftime. It didn't look like he could run in the second half. I didn't know if he was unfit, if he was tired. I mean, they've just been back from an extended break, and he wasn't with the World Cup squad. But this is definitely the point of the season now where players are beginning to struggle. And we're going to have to deal. We're going to see 2 months of this basically now. So I guess we'll just have to get used to it. I went to a cup game at the weekend. There was a choice of matches to go to in K League 2, but I just thought another trip to Hyochang Stadium. I've partially completed an article and some videos that I'll be uploading onto the website. The article will probably go up tomorrow, and the videos are likely to go up on Wednesday. A very important stadium in Korean football history. It was built for the 1960 AFC Asia Cup, and it hosted a few international games after that, but attention went back to Dongdaemun, which was revamped, I think, in 1963. So Hyochang is in a great part of the city. It's one of those stadiums, you don't see that often in Korea. It's got no roof, except for a very small roof over the main stand. It's at the bottom of a hill. It's all one-way streets around it, and buses, they're kind of turning around Hyochang Park to head down to the stadium. You can just see straight in onto the pitch from the top of the hill. It's really magnificent. It's such a beautiful place to watch a game. It was the first time I'd been there when the weather's been nice, so it was like a good opportunity to walk around, take some videos, take some photographs of the place. That was the cup game between Yangcheon TNT of K5 and Pyeongchang United of K4. The K4 side won it after extra time. TNT were 2 minutes from going through, but then they conceded a goal and then got a man red carded in the last minute or so of normal time, and then went out 2-1 on the day. But if you have the opportunity, if you've never been to Hyochang, it's definitely one of the best stadiums in Korea. It's so beautiful. It's such a great part of town. It's just really, really nice. It's such a pleasant place to watch a game. So I hope whatever article and videos I put up this week on the website will be able to do with some justice. That was FA Cup first round. So Mike was in Namyangju. I was in Seoul. The pick of the round we said last week was going to be Daejeon Korail against Pocheon, second versus third in K3. Pocheon won the game 2-0, and the reward is to visit one of the most successful sides in the history of Korean football, or a better way to look at it is they get to have a look at a magpie behind the home end in Tancheon. So that is Pocheon's reward, is a trip to Tancheon to take on Songnam FC. Busan Transportation beat Gijang. So they've set up a tie with Suwon Bluewings. I was surprised to learn that this is the first time those two sides will play against each other in the cup, given the fact that Busan have actually been around for a very, very long time. So it's the first ever meeting between Busan Kyotung, Busan Transportation, and the Suwon Bluewings. That game is going to take place in Busan, but they haven't released the venue yet because Busan iPark are also hosting a game in the second round against Goje Citizen. Look out for K4 Jinju Citizen. They are likely to make the second round because they visit Hwa Stadium to take on Ansan Greeners. So there should be a K4 side in the next round of the cup. Any fixtures that really stand out there for you, Michael?
I just feel sorry for Jinju because they could be 1-0 up going into extra time in that second round, but there may be intervention. We don't like elitists in this pod, Andrew.
There's nothing else of it. Just I was kind of hoping because you went to Namyangju, so Namyangju hosts Gimpo. Had that been Seoul Jung'an from K4, they probably would have had to move the stadium, move to a different stadium, because I don't know if you guys have been to Seoul Jung'an Stadium, but there's no way you could possibly host a K League 2 side. Right. But otherwise, there isn't a huge amount of interest in the second round, I don't think.
Interestingly as well, I think the winner of the Gimpo and Namyangju game will play Incheon in the next round.
That's right,
that's how we've seen the draw, because they do the draw about 5 rounds in advance. But I think, because we might have Gimpo coming back with all of our ex-players and certain other people we don't like.
A striker with number 50 on his back?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's it. So check out the website, because I did put up a second round draw. It's already up on the website, and there'll be predictions and an in-depth look at those fixtures at some point over the next couple of days. So, sorry, I think actually they tied the round. I'm not sure if Mike was going to jump into this, but Shihung's first ever trip to Daegu seems like a really good game because Hyochang are obviously in contention to win K-League or K3 against one of the better sides in K-League 2, and they've never played there before, so that does sound like a standout tie.
They technically just...
It's a shame that didn't take place about 3 months ago when Daegu was struggling.
And then Hyochang just technically lost 6-0 to Vietnam. But I'm not sure it was the full first team, but...
Yeah, the day after the Cup first round game. Anyway, I think that's it. So that is the Korea Cup. There'll be second round preview, as I said, on the website. You can see the draw. You'll also find K-League 1 and K-League 2 weekend previews up on site sometime this week. I think that's it from Luke, Mike, and myself, Andrew. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll talk to you again next week. Goodbye.